Okay, welcome back to Route Double. Now, I promised this video that we were going to get the rest of these bad endings. Judging by this chart, we've got 17 total, and I've managed to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 so far. So we have 9 bad endings this video. And then, video after, we will be getting all of the good endings, not just good ending. Which we have probably enough tips that I can work through it. I'm gonna probably break out a guide just to get the remainder of this for completion's sake. So I don't know if this will be out of order, whatnot, but for this, we're just going to go chronologically from a new file and see where we can die. Well, this feels like the obvious first point where we can die. At the time, we kind of left it to the professionals. This time, let's not. We can do this. We can save Yuri. Once he heard her say this, the man... Ah, danger! Quickly gave this reply. Just as he was about to continue running, the blaze in front of him flared up violently. These words spurred him on. I'll save her. The man ran into the blazing room, his heart filled with determination. But he was halted the moment he made it inside. Searing waves of heat barred his path. The girl was only a short ways away, but crossing even that distance would be difficult. That moment he heard a voice right next to him. The woman who tried to warn him had followed him into the room without him even noticing. Before he could finish his sentence, felt an intense heat on his head, and a second later a horrible stench filled his nose. My hair's on fire! It caused the man to fly into a panic. The man frantically swatted at his head in an attempt to put out the fire. The woman's voice echoing from outside the room was soon replaced with the roar of the hose. Its water filled the room like mist, but the fire engulfing the man's head didn't go out, driving him to desperation. All thoughts of saving the girl had vanished from his mind. No idea what to do, he tried to put out the fire by directly bathing himself in the hose's water. That's probably bad. The moment he walked into the jet stream's path, its sheer force knocked him backwards. Man fell face up, the back of his head slamming onto the floor. His vision swiftly grew dark. He heard someone's voice from far away. That voice too quickly faded away. What the hell is this? Is this how it ends? How pathetic. And with that, he thought no more. Well, that was silly. Very fittingly silly, I suppose. Knowing the female rescue worker's warning, maybe we'll avert this fate by setting the female rescue worker's senses higher than the protagonist set the senses input just before this ending. Yep. Trust the judgment of the person who has their memories. Simple enough. Okay, now we're getting into the danger zone here. I forget how this played out before.
ですから隊長がちゃんと温度をチェックしてくださらなければ
I genuinely forget what my choices were before, but I know... I'm pretty sure I put them both higher than me? But I also feel like that kinda... led to Watase losing his touch a bit. Ah, I see. Well, let's clearly... I'm up for it. We're all up for it. Fuck it. Unlike all the other doors, the LRT scanner was showing that the otherwise blue one had a slight yellow tinge to it. But it was too late. Jun had already hit the button, causing the door to slide open. At that moment, the group all felt something like the air being sucked inwards. Jun immediately jumped away from the door. Fire spewed forth from the room only a mere second later. Ah! Watase tried to dodge it, but his body wouldn't move. No sooner had Watase heard that shout than were he and the rest of the group blown away by the blast. Am I dead? I wondered that for a second, but no, he was still alive. However, it also felt like something was crushing his body. Watase then opened his eyes. Oh. Only to see Kazumi shouting at him and helping him up. Not to rewind that or anything, but that seemed to set us on the path to the third bad ending. Which... yeah, I maxed out everything here and we kept going. So what happens if I keep this at where it's at? Oh, Watase didn't feel the need to be intimidated by every little thing they said. Okay, and with that, the group began searching each and every room. Ooh. Okay, they stood in front of a room at the edge of the outer ring. Kazumi headed towards the door, pose at the ready. Watase turned on the PDA's IRT function and checked the door features he'd been told. Jun announced that as she opened the door. Oh, okay, this is familiar. Why can't we... Alright, well, we'll hang on for a second. Okay, here we go. Watase forgot about the threat of the fire without even noticing it. You fool, Watase! Watase heard Kazumi's warning. By then, he'd already pressed the open button. Then the door opened with a faint sound of the opening mechanism. A second later, Watase's ears were filled with a very peculiar sound. He also felt something like the air getting sucked up at the same time. What's that? Watase's gaze turned to what lay in the room. He saw... there's a fiery maelstrom shooting out at him! There we go, there's that familiar music. That moment of memory flashed back in his mind. Kaboom! Oh crap. The time he completed that thought, Watase had been engulfed by red-hot flames. Very abrupt. Careless, the result of Watase not taking Kazumi and Jun's explanation seriously. Maybe able to avert that fate by setting Kazumi, Jun, and Watase senses to very high levels at the SSS input just before this ending. As in, we all value our lives. Makes sense. Okay. That's 2 bad endings down. So we've seen 3, and we've seen most of the path leading up to 3 as well. Apparently it's possible, it might be possible, to avoid making that mistake. And even going on that backdraft route to begin with. Might actually try doing that. Okay, I forget what bad ending we got by dying to the backdraft and earlier, the bad end path I thought we were on by frantically trying to fight the fire, but it wasn't number 3. The overeager martyr was the result of taking the half AD instead of Kazumi. Don't actually know. Not the coward. I don't remember. Anyway, let's just keep going chronologically, shall we? Remember this? This feels like a bad idea. Oh hey, our senses are actually right where we... This seems like a bad idea. Let's agree with Enna. Hey, Tachibana. Wait, why don't we go to the passageway? We might be able to put out that fire if we try, you know? Kazumi looked really uneasy about that prospect. Watase stuck to his opinion in spite of that. That you do. Yeah, fair.
ここは二手に分かれない？私が浮田さんと一緒にカードスロットのところに行くからさ。私も森部さんたちに。
I don't want to die in a fire.
では、私と隊長で通路の確認へ向かいましょう。椿山さんはどうなさいますか？
消火の手伝いなんてできないし、私も森部さんたちについていくわ。
It was your idea, Anna.
自分で意見を言っておいて申し訳ないけれど。
いいさ、そんなこと気にするな。
Watase said that and quickly went on the move with Kazumi. He opened the security gate in the connecting passageway and was greeted by a hallway full of smoke and heat. Fortunately, there wasn't any fire for what he could see. He could hear the sound of a roaring inferno coming from just past the corner up ahead. When she heard that, Kazumi spoke with a frozen look on her face.
隊長、引き返しましょう。ここは危険です。
いや、この目で確認しないことには。行くぞ。
Watase, that's a bad idea. Watase walked down the connecting passageway accompanied by Kazumi. The latter held a fire hose at the ready. The air grew hotter with each step they took, and the roar of the flames gradually became louder and louder. They finally went past the corner and saw... Wow, it's a fire! A world swirling with hellfire. Kazumi immediately switched the hose on and began hosing down the flames. No matter how hard she tried to put it out, the force of the fire didn't weaken in the slightest. Yes! Watase stood his ground amidst the heat waves and steam as he stared closely at the blazing flames. The fire was about 5 meters wide. On the other side of it was the security gate that led to Area 3. About the same distance... Oh, it's about the same distance as that puddle I jumped over earlier. It wasn't impossible for him to pull this off. Oh my god. Kazumi shouted as soon as she noticed Watase backing up in preparation for a running start. Watase said that, then jumped off the ground with a 3-step running start. Watase, do you remember how you landed in the water your first time you attempted to jump that water? Do you remember that, you fool? And right after that, his vision was engulfed by fire. His hair and skin were instantly scorched. Right as he gnashed his teeth to endure the pain, his body cleared the flames and landed in front of the gate.
会長、なんということ。
Kazumi was screaming at him, but he had no time to turn around. Damn, that burns! Watase was in the middle of a white-hot world full of stagnant air heated by flames. Hold your breath. If you don't, your lungs will be burned. His brain assessed the danger and sent him a stern warning. It'll be okay. I can handle a little heat. Watase convinced himself of that as he quickly took out the security card. Once he opened the gate, he could breathe all he wanted in Area 3. Is Area 3 the, oxygen-deficient air? And all they have to do is run to the engine room and restore the... Oh yeah, yep. Restore the sprinkler system. That'd take care of all the fires in Labo. Got this! That confidence brimming inside of him, Watase slid the card into the terminal. The gate didn't respond in the slightest. At that moment, his spine went so cold that it was nearly impossible to believe he was surrounded by flames. No, this can't be. Are you kidding me? Watase tried putting the card in the slot again, his hands trembling as he did. Oh right, and Mornibay had to go open the door from the other side. Nothing changed. Shit, the terminal is completely busted. Watase turned around in terror. He gazed at the sea of flames standing in his way. And it was at that moment that Watase Kasasagi knew. He fucked up. At that moment he forgot his situation and instinctively took a breath. His lungs burned. It tastes like burning. His lungs were scorched even further with every cough. If they could even be called that at this point, he took... I can't breathe. Ugh. Kazumi turned to the fallen Watase and desperately screamed at him. They could no longer even understand what she was saying. His vision dimmed. Before long, he saw no more.
そうね。考えられる方法は通路を塞いでいる火災を何とか消すかしら。いえ、それは火星が激しくて危険です。
Damn it! I should have listened to Tachibana. Almost like she knows what she's doing. At the moment, Watase's body was doused by a hose's jet stream. It seemed that Kazumi had rushed into the flames with the hose in hand. Oh shit. Watase still managed to weave together a thought in his fading consciousness. Forget it, Tachibana. Just forget about me and go join the others. As he worried about Kazumi risking her life trying to save a fool like him, Watase fell into a deep darkness at the end of his suffering. Bad ending number 4. The Misguided. The result of picking the wrong plan. You'd be able to avert this fate by setting Kazumi's senses higher than Enna's at the SSS input just before this ending. Picking a wrong plan and being a reckless idiot. Just really, I'm gonna jump this was like the same gap that I misjudged and came a foot or so short of. First time I did a crazy long jump stunt. Let's do it again! Let's get scorched, and then let's die. That went well. Good job, Kaz. Good job, Watase. Okay. Now I can skip ahead a little bit, it seems. So we have the next two endings. I feel like the coward... I feel like the coward was when we made it to Area 3, had the option to go looking for AD by ourselves, and we didn't go. Like, we valued ourselves above everyone else, and we had that weird ending where Cosme was fucking dying as hell. Yuri broke an AD, we slapped her, and things got bad. We fell unconscious. When we woke up, everyone was fucking dead, because, of course. Fallen was the one where we, I believe, hesitated going back into the fire room to get the AD case. And we went back in too late and got engulfed by flames again and died. So we can skip ahead beyond that. 7 and 8 now. Interesting. I was wrong. That the ending where we die during the search for AD isn't 6, it's 15. These don't seem to be chronological in the slightest. Oh well, let's resume. Okay. We're back on the bad end path here. This is an obvious point where we might end up dying. Probably be very difficult to get rid of this debris with human hands. The fact that his stamina would eventually run out meant that they had to act fast. Well, I think we should be able to come up with something. The best way to make sure that Yuri survives. Thought he'd had something for a second there, but now he wasn't sure if it would work. Now, I believe this was the point where we started giving out orders before. If it's just what it feels like, that's just what it feels like from this second chance choice. The weight of the debris against his back felt like it was getting heavier and heavier. He could delay no longer. Honestly, suddenly he shouted as loud as he could.
Tachibana! Moribe! 頼むから何とかしてくれ!
Yep, we don't give specific orders, so...
ここはエアジャキとエンジンカッターを使いましょう。
でもそれって第2エリアにあるんだよ。今から引き返している時間なんて。い
え、第1エリアを経由すればそれほど時間はかからないはずです。
Yep, the difference between us surviving and not is Watase coming up with this plan immediately. That was exactly what Watase had been thinking. His instincts had been right after all, but he hesitated.
モリベ、すぐに取りに行ってください。
了解。隊長、2分以内に戻るから頑張って。
椿山さんと浮田さんはそれまで私と一緒にできるだけ瓦礫の撤去を。分かったわ。すぐに始めましょう。
なあ。
手始めにこの瓦礫から撤去します。
Jun left the factory as Kazumi, Anna, and Okita started removing the debris. A minute later, Watase's arms started shaking rapidly. He couldn't imagine how many kilograms he was holding up. His spread elbows creaked, feeling like they'd snap like twigs at any second. Moribe, please hurry up. Yuri's face scrunched up grimly as if she could tell what Watase was feeling.
ごめんなさい。隊長さん。私のせいで隊長さんまで巻き添えに。
え？バカ野郎。いらんこと言うんじゃねえ。
どうして隊長さんがどうしてそうまでして私を救おうとしたりするんですか？
どうしてって、そりゃ。
Then that Watase remembered.
止まるな、彼女を助けろ。
The voice he'd heard in his head shortly after he'd woken up. See, so ever since I heard that voice, I'd been...
隊長さん。
Yuri looked confused at Watase's sudden silence. It was at that moment that they heard Jun's voice.
お待たせ。そちらの状況は。
正直きつい。急いでくれ。
わかりました。モリベ、すぐにエアジャッキの用意を。
スタンバってるよ。指示どうぞ。
まず ここからここまでのラインをエンジンカッターで切断します。その後開口部にエアジャッキを瓦礫を持ち上げ2人を助け出します。
This really...
椿山さんと沖田さんは一旦下がって。
It definitely played out differently, but...
切断開始します。
Two rescue workers then began removing debris. God damn it! The strength of Watase's arms was fading quickly. Wouldn't surprise me if the weight of the debris won out any second now. I've ordered Tachibana and Moribe right away back then if I'd known it was going to happen. Those lost 10 seconds had cost him everything.
隊長さん。
Yuri looked anxious. Watase no longer had the composure to say anything comforting to her. Debris was sinking further and further into his back. It was merely an illusion, one that felt more than real enough. Moribe, please hurry up. 1 second felt so long. The vibrations of the engine cutter were like poison to Watase now. At the end of what felt like an eternity of agony. Part of the debris was removed and the light shone in on Yuri's face. At that moment, Watase hit his limit. You could tell that the muscle fibers in his arms were starting to burst. He didn't have any more time. Shit, I've gotta make sure. At least Yuri gets out. With Yuri's small body, it was probably possible for her to escape through the hole that had been opened just now. Watase forced his voice out in order to interrupt her.
立花、今すぐ有利を引っ張り出せ。
隊長。
立花、早くしろ。これは命令だ。
It's practically a miracle that he'd managed to shout that. Kazumi took Yuri's hand and quickly pulled her outside. Strength in Watase's arms then gave way, then and there. His body was pulverized by the debris. Yeah! That horrific scream burst out of his mouth. Bones all throughout his body broke and pierced his lungs. He nearly passed out from the sheer pain of it all. Thought crossed Watase's mind amidst all that. I'm glad I saved Yuri. But other thoughts simultaneously hit him. Were my actions just now really my actions? Maybe.
止まるな。彼女を助けろ。
If I'd never heard that voice. That moment, it felt like everything he'd been up to that point hadn't really been him. Just as Watase's conviction faded from his body, his mind fell into darkness. That's a question we need answered at some point. We might get some answer if in the good ending? Egoless. Result of underestimating the danger and not giving urgent orders quickly enough. You'll be able to avert this fate by setting Watase and Yuri's senses very high at the SSS input just before this ending. Simple enough to avoid, but interesting. I feel like part of it is Yuri, too. Feels like, yeah, just enough underestimating the danger by not maxing out the value our lives meter as it is today. With the feels like keeping Yuri's meter low also had the side effect of instead of just embracing the urge to protect, we have some doubts about it. We have that conversation about are our actions really our own? We have that a few chapters early. Interesting. I'm curious about this, actually. We're rewinding a bit, but keep our senses low this time. Watase hesitated for a moment. He confirmed that there were no survivors here, but they couldn't say the same about AD. He's also concerned about the strange vision he just had. Is it okay to go back and leave things the way they are? They couldn't put their lives in danger over some fanciful delusion he'd had. Hmm.
よし戻ろう。
了解。じゃあ急いで。
Watase and Jude then raced out of the room together. Is this? Oh, that was rather quick.
内州島の捜索終わったのかね。ああ、特に成果はなかったが。
そうですか。
ところでどうだった？
捜索の結果は？
それがこっちも成果がなく AD も要救助者も見つかりませんでした。
こんなものなら見つかったのだがね。
Kida held out a bunch of security cards, all labeled level 6.
レベル6のカードがこんなに？もしくは施設内の監査を行う立場のものか。
By the way, they now had 4 level 6 cards. Still, I wish we'd found more AD instead. There were about 30 minutes to go until it was time for their next AD injections. They had to find more before then. It wasn't the only problem they had, as Anna's depressed comment reminded them.
それに要救助者も重要だわ。どうして全然見つからないのかしら。もう未捜索のエリアは第6エリアだけよね。
ああ、こうも見つからないのはなんだか妙な感じがするな。
Honestly, not sure where this is going. Okay. Done searching Area 5.
エリアに進みましょう。
Group nodded gravely at those words. No AD. Into the factory now. Group opened the Okay. Ah. This is new. We didn't get any AD from the office. The only way it'd be within the safety standard for them was with AD. We didn't find any soon. All of Labo would potentially turn into a contaminated zone for them. I'd hope the situation was the one thing they wanted to avoid at all costs.
次の AD 投与時間まであと30分を切っている。とにかく手分けして捜索しよう。となればファクトリーを重点的に捜索した方がいいだろう。AD はこの場所で作られていたはずだから焼け残りがあるかもしれない。
To think of it, Cosby had mentioned a while back that the AD had been given to them by the Labo staff members.
でもこんな中から見つけ出すなんて骨が折れそうよ。
そうだね。それに内州島だってちゃんと捜索しなきゃならないし。
He didn't have the time to keep discussing the matter, so Watase instantly made a decision.
わかった。だったら内州島は俺が一人で担当しよう。みんなは手分けしてファクトリーを調べてくれ。
Oh, okay. I have a feeling I know how this is going to go bad. Okay. Yeah, I definitely know. I have a feeling I know how this is going to go bad. Watase said that and headed off to the inner ring by himself. He ran as fast as he could through the block on B2. He couldn't find any AD no matter how many rooms he searched. No, calm down, you still haven't checked B1 yet. Watase headed for the stairwell so he could go up. He opened the fireproof door. Saw the totally collapsed emergency staircase lying in front of him. Damn it, we don't have time for this. His watch said 11:58 a.m. 20 minutes were left until the AD wore off. Do I have to go back up an elevator shaft again? No. Watase took out the 10-meter rope he'd been carrying this whole time and tied the end to the debris lying on the ground. Then tossed it up and it caught on the handrail of the still intact landing of B1. He tugged it several times to test its strength, but it appeared that the rope was firmly secure. It cocked somehow, like a gun. What that sound effect sounded like. Okay, here I go. He climbed up the thick rope with his brute strength and safely made it up to B1. Wasted too much time. Watase cursed himself and ran off again to begin the search anew. The searched ended without yielding anything. Then we got back down to B2. Watase's gate had become quite heavy. Tachibana and the others found AD. They're either gone, or the whole factory is going to collapse on them. Watase ran through the connecting passageway to the factory with anxiety in his heart, but just then... they're gone. Watase shuddered at the roar that had come from straight ahead. He hurried on over into the factory, quickly spotting a cloud of dust rising from a corner. Kazumi and the others were surrounding it.
どうした？何があったんだ?
Oh. Ran over to the group to find everyone, including Kazumi, staring at a pile of debris that stood in the middle of the dust. No one paid any heed to Watase's question. None of them even reacted to him.
おい、立花、何があったのかって聞いてるんだ。
Yuri... Oh, was Yuri under there? Just then Kazumi answered in an absent-minded voice.
ユーリさんが私たちが気づいた時にはもう
That's why she said in that last bad end she was sorry for us getting trapped too. She knew this was going to happen somehow. Watase looked down at the debris to find a giant pool of blood seeping out from under it. Then finally hit him that Yuri was not among the 4 people there.
ユリちゃん、ユリちゃん。
なぜだ？なぜこんなことになってしまったのだ？
私たちが AD を探すのに気を取られていたばっかりに私は危険に気づいていたはずなのに
No, this isn't for real, is it? As soon as he understood the situation, something in Watase snapped. Ran over to the bottom of the debris.
ユーリ頼むから返事をしてくれ。バカ野郎！お前ら何ボサッとしてるんだ。ユーリを助けるのを手伝いやがれ。
It was then that Jun, the one who'd normally be in Watase's shoes at the moment, spoke sadly.
無理だよ、隊長。こんなでっかい瓦礫が天井から落ちてきたんだよ。ユリちゃんはその真下にいて。だから。
Jun's words painted out her sobs.
そんな。くそー！
The group then just stood where they were for what felt like an eternity. Eventually, Kasumi's watch alarm went off.
AD は
Kasumi silently shook her head. It was then that the Procyon began to beep. Reading was now precisely at 4,000 millisieve. Watase's skin quickly started growing numb and his head began aching.
行くぞ。このままじゃ俺たち全員おしまいだ。とにかく AD を見つけよう。それに俺たちはまだ夏彦たち3人を見つけちゃいない。
The group then started searching the facility all over again, starting from Area 1. Watase's skin felt strange. Nausea took hold of him. His headache grew worse and worse. It wasn't long before even his pace gradually grew weak. By that, the group had to keep wandering the facility to find AD and the survivors. Eventually, they noticed Ukita was gone.
なあ、おっさんはどこに行ったんだ?
His head hurt so much that even thinking was a Herculean task for him. It appeared that it was the same for everyone else.
変ですね。さっきまで一緒にいたはずなのですが。
うん、いたよ。さっきまで。ねえ、椿山さん。
Anna didn't answer Jun's question.
先生。
Watase carried the now unconscious Anna and headed for Area 2 this time. His nausea was so bad that he couldn't even open his mouth.
ねえ、今こそエリ見つかるよね。
Jun's speech was now considerably slurred. He passed out while they were searching Area 2. Kasumi carried her on her back and spoke.
隊長、このままでは我々も。
I know. Watase tried to say that, but the only thing that came out of his mouth was a faint noise that sounded like a sigh. Watase and Kasumi were soon no longer in any condition to carry people. Their memories grew hazier and hazier. They left Jun and Enna in some room, but they couldn't remember where that was. All they knew was that they felt like hell, and that their heads felt as though they were on the verge of splitting. After a while, they heard an explosion nearby. Watase got caught in the blast and was knocked away. Damn. His body was incredibly sluggish. He sat up and looked around him. Kasumi was nowhere to be found. His mind was a total void. Huh? Why am I alone? Can't take this anymore. Watase started walking, his blood dripped down his right arm. A piece of debris like a thin, sharp knife was impaling it. He hadn't noticed his wound at all. This would happen at some point earlier. Eh? It felt like the pain wasn't even his own. How am I doing again? Oh right, I need to find D. Just as he stumbled astray into what appeared to be a connecting passageway, Watase suddenly lost his sense of balance. Collapsed, his face smashing into the floor. Hurt, of course, but that no longer mattered to him. Won't need these. Watase no longer needed his body, his senses, his thoughts, or his memories. He just wanted one thing. AD. It's the only thing Watase craved. Before long, he no longer needed that, either. Damn. Wanderer. Sort of Watase worrying about his safety too much and failing to find any AD. He'd be able to avert this fate by setting Watase's senses very high at an SSS input around 11:48 a.m. Well, that was depressing. Holy shit. I'm gonna say, some of those came off as silly, but it was just depressing. So, yeah. 10, 11, 12, and 14 to go. Alright. I think we've seen this before, but we didn't go past it. We rewound and picked someone.
あのさ、隊長、マジで早くしてよね。そうよ。時間がないって分かってるはずよね。
そうなんだが。
ご自分で決められないのであれば仕方ありません。隊長は私と組みましょう。それで依存はありませんね。
Yeah, we got -1 to everyone, because we couldn't make a choice.
それでは捜索を開始しましょう。ファクトリー側の捜索は森部が主導してください。了解。
The bad taste left in their mouths, the group split into their teams at Kasumi's order. Yep, we failed. Now, is this old? Yeah, this is old. So we'll be back in a bit. So this feels like this is going in a different direction. We set Anna's choice to 1 at the previous senses. Which is her theory that Ukita and the security is somehow at fault. Didn't really have much of a reason to trust her. Oh. Oh, gotta sit you both down, I believe? Yeah, let's move on. Alright. I wonder, I know this is eavesdropping, but the way Teach is acting is bugging me too for some reason. And then resume the conversation. Is this gonna change the conversation?
詳しい話は後よ。とにかく私と一緒に行きましょう。これ以上の。
いや、
どうして？
真城がエナは心を開いていないと言っていた。
Hmm.
私は真白の判断を信じる。
鳥羽さんと一緒にいるの？あの子はどこに？
Yeah, I feel like this is the same, so we're gonna skip over this. Well, let's ask her about it, actually. This is new. While we're on the topic, what was Sal you talking to you about?
昨日は情報に耳を貸さなかったとか、心を開いていないとか。
それは昨日三宮さんたちに言われたの。ラボには何か秘密がある。調べたいから同行してくれって。
Oh. This is new.
事情がまるでわからないし、そもそも私が同行したところで調べようがないと思って取り合わなかったの。そのせいで三宮さんは私を信用してくれてないみたいだけど。
そうなのか。
It's a very vague story that didn't shed much light on things. Almost like we'll have to find out what happens before crime to figure out what she was told.
あの子たちは何か知っているのか。俺たちの知らないこと。
そんな疑うほどのことじゃないと思うけど。
でも考えてみれば、高校生がこんな原子力研究施設にいるっておかしいだろ。しかもこんな大事故が起きた日にたまたまなんて。もっと何か聞いてないか。あの高校生たちがラボに来ようと思った理由について。
わからないわ。本当にそれしか聞いてないの。
Plus, I wasn't entirely sure he believed Anna's answer.
先生、本当か？
本当かって嘘をつくわけないじゃない。
I'm not sure whether to put this in the Bad End compilation or the Anna compilation.
しかし、これは俺の受けた単なる印象だが。
Anna compilation being the eventual good ending compilation.
さっきの先生とサリューの会話は、なんというか。
Because this is on the path to a bad ending.
先生と生徒というより、もっと別の関係の者たちの会話のように聞こえた。あんたら、本当に先生と生徒なのか？
当たり前よ。何バカなこと言ってるの？
This is definitely interesting. This is questions we've had a few times about Anna.
名前見ればわかる通り、あの子はハーフなの。敬語の使い方とかに慣れていないだけよ。
しかし、他にも気になる点がある。ここから先は大人の仕事ってのはどういう意味だ？
あれは天川くんたちの救助についての話よ。三宮さんには安全なところで待機してもらって、彼らを救助するのは私たち大人に任せるように言ったの。
There was no hesitation in anything Anna said, and it didn't sound like she was lying either. That didn't mean Watase was without his doubts.
しかし、教師のあんたがどうして生徒にあんなに警戒されているんだ？
いろいろと難しいところのある子だからね。他人に対し壁を作るというか。
そうなのか。
Watase quietly stared at Anna for a while, but he soon realized that he didn't have time to waste on grilling her. Anna seemed to be thinking the same thing as she quickly changed the subject.
だけど確かに私は彼女に警戒されているけど、三宮さんと隊長さんの間にも何かがあったのは確かなはずよ。おそらく
Ah.
隊長さんが記憶喪失になる前に。
Doubt.
ああ、それも気になるところだ。だが俺はレスキュー隊員なんだぞ。それなのに彼女に何をしたって言うんだ？
私に聞かれてもわかるわけないでしょ。もしかすると三宮さんが何か誤解をしているのかもしれないけど。
I think we're caught up now. Watase then remembered the wound on Salyu's arm as she said that. Gunshot wound? I wasn't the one who gave her that wound, was I? Watase shouted out to Anna as soon as he realized.
先生、伏せろ!
Right after the two of them proceeded to throw their bodies into the hallway, beeping finally stopped. Oh, okay. Watase timidly got up and looked into the stairwell behind him. However, no explosion had happened. Anna also got up, her eyebrows furrowed.
爆発しない。どうして？
Alright, let's move right along.
本当かね？
Let's see. I think we're where we need to be. Sort of shiver went down his spine when he saw that. This was... Everyone's panicking. Now, if we balance it, yeah, we split it all up evenly, and we're all happy. We've gotten to a new scene, and yeah, this is the point where we put ourselves above Kazumi and Jun here, and they are very much doubting us. They want to know why we went to the basement, and recalling from playing through the prologue again, putting this video together, there is very much... Watase went down to the basement with Dojima and Hiyama, and they went into this odd garden-like area that we haven't been to since, specifically to answer a distress call from researchers. And when they got there, they found nobody. Original Watase also mentioned, seemed like this time we'll be able to save someone, or be able to save someone unlike last time, some previous failure of his, or of theirs, brought him down there. They found no one down there. They were wondering if they were tricked. Then Watase left Dojima and Hiyama to hold down the fort, while he went specifically looking for people. We saw him in the prologue find Yuri, and then he found the doppelganger, or mysterious death man, who mind crushed him, and then he woke up with no memory. Proceeding onward this way, just wanted to recap that. I'm never going to recap that in a random bad ending video, but just then Enna, who'd kept quiet this whole time, cut into the conversation. She's going to join in now. We've lost trust with her. She just wants us to defend ourselves. And that meant that Watase had lost the trust of the whole team. It's interesting. If we keep the trust of Kazumi, we head down the normal path. If we lose the trust of just Kazumi and Jun, we get tied up. We get the everyone dies path. And now we've lost everyone's trust. Seems like she wants to trust us, but... Six-minute blank. That was indeed the main reason why no one trusted him right now. Couldn't recall the events of those 6 minutes no matter how hard he tried. Anna then spoke to Watase in a compelling voice. Should be giving me a chance? Watase desperately tried to think of something that would support Anna's argument. But he had nothing. Couldn't find anything that would satisfy his comrade's doubts.
待って二人とも、もう少し隊長さんの話を聞いてあげても。
いや、弁明の時間はもう終わりだ。それとも何かね、君には隊長さんをどうしてもかばいたい理由でもあるというのかね。
それは
ないんでしょ。だったらもう黙っててよ。じゃないと椿山さんが拳銃を隠し持ってたことまた蒸し返すことになっちゃうかもよ。
Jun Nokita's harsh glare shut Anna right up. Kita then turned his gaze to Watase and spoke.
さて、それじゃあどうしてくれようか。
踏んじばってどこかに監禁するのがいいんじゃない？
よし、そうと決まれば早速縛るものを用意して。
あ、このケーブルなんてどうかな。
一本ぐらい引っこ抜いたところでさして支障はないだろう。
Two of them smirked at each other maliciously as they pulled a cable out from under the control panel. It was then that Watase finally realized it. Their eyes were full of madness. This is bad. These guys aren't in their right minds. Watase glanced briefly at the door as he shuddered in fear. Just then,
あ、もしかして逃げるつもり？
いかん、すぐに取り押さえるんだ。
two of them suddenly sprung at Watase.
離せ！
Watase succumbed to panic and shook them off of him. Oh boy. It's right then that his elbow smashed into Jun's face. Oh, fuck. Jun screamed and then Watase heard a very thick sound behind him. Turned around to see Jun's head crashing into the edge of a piece of machinery. Oh, fuck. Once again, we don't know our own strength. Jun moaned in agony, then suddenly stopped moving right then and there, her eyes still agape. Cosme spoke in what almost sounded like a scream and held Jun's body in her arms. Are we the baddie? Yes, we are. But Jun didn't answer. I mean, we... It's certainly not going to help our situation. Cosme lost her composure and checked Jun's vital checker. Red. Vital signs flat. Watase saw that with his own eyes.
嘘だろ。
And shouldn't be able to die so easily. Thought flickered through Watase's head. The fact remained that Jun was neither moving nor breathing. I feel bad. Cosme's shouts of grief echoed through the room.
隊長さん、君はついにやってしまったな。
Yeah. A dark flame spoltered in Kita's eyes.
違うんだ。
Watase panicked. Before he knew it, he was bolting for the door. Anna stood in his way. Watase immediately shouted at her.
先生、頼むからそこをどいてくれ。
いいえ、それはできないわ、隊長さん。残念だけど、あなたは過ちを犯してしまったのよ。あなたは一人の大人として、男として、それを認めなければいけないわ。だから隊長さん、お願いだから、今この現実から逃げたりしないで。
Anna looked Watase straight in the eye, compelling him to listen to her. There were no signs of madness in her eyes.
先生。
Watase had indeed committed a sin. Accident or not, he had still taken the life of one of his comrades with his very hands. That was something completely unforgivable. Damn it. It was all panic, delusion, and misunderstanding up to this point. Now we kinda can't run from it anymore. Watase stopped trying to run away, his strength slowly leaving him. Then looked at Anna and spoke.
すまなかった先生。あんたの言う通りにするよ。
She really is the voice of reason in all this, isn't she? That's the amazing thing. Watase feebly gave that answer, but then... Uh-oh. Someone suddenly rammed right into his back with all their might. Watase was sent flying to the ground. And knocked into Enna, who fell with him. Oh, jeez. He came to his senses. Someone was bending over his back. Who is it? Kazumi, I bet. Was it Ukita or Kazumi? As Watase tried to turn around. His whole body went numb with a shock. Oh, jeez. Something had been slid between his ribs through his back. And cold. Thought crossed Watase's mind for a minute. Burns. He was mistaken. His brain had merely perceived it incorrectly. A second later, he realized what had happened. I've been stabbed. By who? With what? Why? Those questions flashed through his head all at once. Understandable. He heard someone panting heavily.
どうしてあなたが
Who is it? Who stabbed me? Before he could figure it out. Watase threw blood up on Enna's chest. Sorry, Teach. It didn't stop there. That's gotta suck for poor Enna. A great rush of blood came flooding out of his mouth with each violent coughing fit. His lungs were already full of blood. Couldn't breathe. It hurt so much that he couldn't take it. Vision was dyed dark red with blood. Then, light suddenly dissipated from his field of vision. Sound also faded away from his world. Despite that, his suffering did not end. He was drowning in the blood filling his lungs. Hurts. It hurts. Hurts. He screamed. Nothing came out. Voice isn't coming out. Hurts, it hurts, it hurts. It's my punishment for taking Jun's life. Please, let it end quickly. Watase's consciousness was then devoured wholly by his agony. Yeah, I'm not gonna protest that one, Kazumi. That kinda deserved that one. It's all of Enna not having enough trust in Watase and not sticking up for him. Okay, so really the one that killed us there was really doubting Enna during that Salyu choice. Or by setting Kazumi and Jun's senses higher than Watase's at the SSS input? Interesting. Alternate choice. So we have 10, 11, 12, and 14. Should be able to get through this simply enough. This seems like a stupid point to protest, but...
お前何言ってんだ俺たちを疑うのか
私だって別に疑いたいわけじゃないよ。でもそれ以外考えられないじゃない。
ってさっきからお前ちょっと堅論すぎるぞもう少し考えて喋るべき
Oh no, this is the last point that we need to do with arguing it. Arguing at everyone.
隊長こそちゃんと考えてよ。頭ごなしに否定するんじゃなくて。
Yeah, it's... fair. Jun's harsh shouting shut Watase right up, then continued talking with a subdued voice.
このラボにいるのは私たちと夏彦君たちだけなんだよ。
Doubting the kids is probably gonna make Enna hate us too.
それって、浮田さん。
I feel like we...
切り物はシリウスの中にいるって言いたいの。
Yeah, I was gonna say, on one hand, it's alright. It's feels like a better move to call people out for making baseless accusations. On the other hand, what Watase did was dumb. He should at least listen. And skip ahead. Oh, okay. It didn't really do anything.
先ほど一瞬地上の誰かとつながってしかしすぐ途切れてしまいました
We doubt Kazumi here too? Interesting. We've still... That setup, we've still triggered this scene. We still managed to run with
あな
Anna.
たは記憶障
Oh,
害
this
を
is
起
new.
こした上に汚染区域に入ったから幻覚を見てもおかしくないと言ったけど
However, Anna suddenly fell quiet before she finished talking. Hmm?
どうしたんだ先生。
隊長さん静かに
A second later, they heard footsteps racing down the hallway, only to stop right in front of the office they were hiding in.
いない浮田さんがこっちの方に追いかけていったはずなのに
It was Jun's voice. Then suddenly started speaking in a panicked tone, pained tone.
隊長こんなのってないよ私ずっと隊長のこと信じてたのに
Moribe. Unless he felt like his heart was being crushed. Then Jun's attitude took a sudden 180.
許せない絶対に見つけ出して AD を取り戻してやるんだから
Watase trembled at the clear hatred in Jun's voice. Right then.
森部君、勤務を2人を探しに来たのかね。
Oh shit, they're both here.
うんだって浮田さんだけじゃ二人を相手にできないでしょ
それは確かにね。ところで副隊長さんは。
全然ダメこの後に及んでもとにかく落ち着けってそればっかでさ
The Academy still trusts us somewhat.
そうか。しかし2対2とはいえ、素手ではどうも心もとないな。
それなら私に心当たりがあるからこれからそれを取りに行かない
おお、それはどこにあるのかね。
こっちついてきて
The footsteps then vanished in the direction of Area 1. Uh-oh, engine cutter.
まずいな。あの会話、何か凶器を取りに行ったのかもしれないぞ。
隊長さん今のうちに移動しましょういつまでもこのエリアにいるのは危険だわ
そうだな。行こう。
Two of them made sure there were no signs of anyone in the halls, then headed in the direction of Area 3, away from Jun and Ukita. They passed right on through Area 3, and arrived in B1 of Area 4's outer ring.
ここまで来ればしばらくは大丈夫じゃないか。
そうねでもいつまでも逃げ回っているわけにはいかないわ
Wouldn't it suck if we discovered the missing AD?
ねえ隊長さんもう一度 AD が亡くなったあの部屋へ行ってみない
脳科学実験室にか。そいつはまたどうしてだ。
誰が AD を持ち去ったのかは知らないけどあの部屋をもっとちゃんと調べればその犯人の手がかりが見つかるかもしれないでしょせめて私たちが犯人じゃないって証明できればあの二人だってもう少しまともになると思うのよ
先生、あんたまるで探偵か刑事みたいだな。
そうこの状況なら誰だって考えつくことだと思うけど
Watase was surprised to see Anna smiling as she said that. To be able to smile in a situation like this, you've sure got nerves of steel, Teach. With that said, Watase agreed with her idea.
了解だ。すぐに脳科学実験室を調べ直しに行こう。
They now stood before the security gate that led to Area 5.
そういえば
Watase suddenly remembered something as he took out his security card.
何どうしたの
さっき研究室に隠れていた時、先生何か気になることがあるって言ってたよな。あれって何のことを言おうとしてたんだ。
ああその話ね
Are we going to be lured into a trap? Anna paused, then slowly shook her head.
今はやめておきましょう今ここであの二人に鉢合わせたら大変だもの
そいつは確かにそうだな。
Watase nodded in response to Anna's comment, but at that moment, the security gate started opening, even though Watase hadn't slid in his card yet. Uh-oh. Strange noise suddenly echoed through the passageway. It was Anna who realized what it was first.
森部さん
Oh fuck. Hi. Watase turned and found himself face to face with Jun. leading from her head and wielding an engine. What? What the hell happened? Watase was rendered speechless, but a second later. Oh, Jesus! Jun suddenly swung the cutter downwards, cleaving a diagonal slash through Enna's body. What? That feels like that was avoidable. Dark red blood dripped down onto the floor. Enna looked at it with wide eyes.
Sensei!
Enna's body violently lurched forward. Watase caught her in the nick of time. Couldn't speak. Could see something white exposed by the giant wound that had cleaved her flesh. It was Enna's collarbone. Jesus! Blood came gushing out of it.
隊長さん私
喋るな。今止血してやる。
Though he knew it was futile, Watase pressed his hands against the wound, and his body began to convulse. Blood kept pouring out in droves without end, filling the passageway with an ever-growing puddle of blood. It's too late, she's beyond help. In his head, Watase knew that, but he ignored it and kept on encouraging Enna.
大丈夫だ先生。こんなもんはかすり傷だ。だから先生、気をしっかり持ってくれ。
A heartless voice then cut in.
無駄だよ隊長その傷どう見たって致命傷じゃん
森部、お前。
Watase glared daggers at Jun. Jun gave Watase a curious look and continued.
隊長なんでそんなに怒ってんの悪いのは椿山さんの方じゃない
What?
バカ野郎！お前の役目は人命救助のはずだろう。なのにレスキュー隊員のお前がこんな。
何さ隊長の方こそ人殺しの仲間のくせに
Oh?
見てよこの頭隊長の仲間にやられたんだよ
Enna is a what?
俺の仲間だと。
Didn't know what she was talking about. But Jun paid him no heed and kept on talking.
隊長ってひどいよね私前は隊長のこと嫌いだったけど今は好きになりかけてたのに一度は信頼させておいてこんな裏切り方するなんて絶対許せないよ
Jun then pulled the engine cutter's lever, but his whole body trembled with fear. He couldn't leave the dying Enna behind and run for his life.
やめるんだ森部。お前、自分が何をやってるか分かってんのか。
Jun suddenly came to a halt.
それは
Bewilderment filled her face. Just as quickly as it had appeared, it transformed into anger.
ふざけるな隊長は私が好きでこんなことやってると思ってんのあんたらと同じにしないでよ全部隊長たちが悪いんじゃない
Jun raised the engine cutter overhead in rage, whilst he was still holding Enna. Couldn't run away. And then... Guess I'll die! Before he could even say stop, Jun mercilessly swung the engine cutter down onto him. The blade came in contact with Watase's skull. Oh, Jesus! His scalp split open and his bones were smashed. Memories of Jun flickered by at that moment.
で、私が森部純消防士20歳今年入りたての新人隊員異名はシリウスの女特攻隊長キャッチフレーズはカンと書いて純と読む以後よろしく
The last thing he ever heard was a mysterious sound. Watase's agony was soundless, and as his gray matter splattered on top of the now dead Enna. Death finally came silently for Watase from beyond the darkness. Everybody gets an axe ending. Despised. Ooh, Jun's trust being too low and her harboring a death wish against Watase. Yes, raising her favor towards Jun, leading up to this point by setting Kazumi and Jun's senses higher than Watase's at that choice. Oh, man. Interesting is that... Yeah, that's only 11. We've got a few more going on. Some of them happened before this, which is weird. How that's set up. Almost like they were added in later or something. I don't know. I don't really know the logic behind the bad ending order. Murderer. I was considering something about how maybe these are negative tropes from the Enneagram, but murder? Yes, my personality type is death. This is one I wasn't expecting to have a bad end option. But, fuck it.
100% 放射線被爆を防ぐ薬だと
Found himself reluctant to trust Kazumi.
そうおっしゃるのもわかります。
Apparently this leads us to death.
しかしお願いです。信じてください。あなたの
No, that's impossible. There's no way a drug that offered 100% resistance to radiation actually existed. He had no memories to base that assumption off of, but he was sure he was right.
そういえば隊長が最後に AD を投与したのっていつ？
それはわからんが
やばいよ、念のため投与しておきなよ。隊長もきっと持ってるはずだからさ。
Man searched his pockets as instructed and quickly found an ampule in one of them.
使い方は簡単だよ。専用のカートリッジが付属してるから、それを装着して、あとは先端を折って静脈に密着させてノック部分を押すだけでいいから。
Though he'd heard her explanation quite clearly, the man didn't feel like injecting himself with it.
隊長、どうしたの？早くその AD 撃っちゃいなよ。
It's interesting if there's not actually a nuclear reactor here. And so the AD is actually part of the experiment. The man chose that moment to glance at the girl standing next to the rescue worker. The image of her turning around and trying to escape the AD injection played back in his head. He turned to the lieutenant again as the warning bells hit his heart grew louder and louder.
なあこの AD ってのは本当に放射線を防ぐための薬なんだ
Feels like this one kind of makes sense coming later, because if we express doubt at this decision earlier, instead of blindly trusting.
俺にはどうしてもそんな風には思えないんだが
Irritation rolled up in the lieutenant's eyes at that moment.
隊長、いい加減にしてください。あなたは今この瞬間も被爆し続けているかもしれないのですよ。さあ、腕を出して。私が投与します。
Lieutenant then took the ampule and cartridge right out of the man's hands with those words. He then quickly loaded the ampule into the cartridge and pointed at the man's arm.
さあ、早くしてください。
That same woman had injected the young girl with AD against her own will just a few minutes ago in the exact same manner. That fact put the man on his guard.
やめろ俺にはそんなものは必要ない
Oh, jeez. As he shook the AD away, his hand struck the lieutenant in the face, causing her to shriek. Oh boy.
ちょっと隊長、何やってんの？
うるさい本当のことを言えそんな得体の知れないものを投与してあんたらは俺をどうするつもりだ
はあ？何わけわかんないこと言ってんのさ。仲間の言うことが信じられないっての？
It was true that the two of them were wearing the same rescue uniform that he was. With no memories, they could just be pretending to be rescue workers for all the man knew. Just then the lieutenant turned to her subordinate and spoke.
森部、隊長を抑えなさい。こうなったら実力行使です。
Oh boy.
了解。
What? I knew it. These guys are... No rescue worker would ever do something like that in his mind.
来るんじゃね
Oh boy. The man shook off the female rescue worker and ran away from the group as fast as he could. Then blindly ran without any clue where he was headed for a few minutes. Oh, stairwell time. Shutting the door behind him, he found himself standing in a room buried in debris. Dead end. Damn it, this place won't work. They'll find me in no time flat. He looked up, only to find what appeared to be the landing of a staircase. and heard the voices of the two rescue workers on the other side of the door.
森部、そちらに隊長は？
こっちにはいなかった。
では、あと探していないのは？
Shit. Then brought his hands and feet to the partially collapsed wall and climbed, aiming for the landing above him. The odds of him actually making it there seem nigh impossible, but his body is super strong. By the time the two rescue workers opened the door, the man was only a short distance away from reaching the landing.
隊長！なんというバカな真似を！
Damn, they found me, but I'm almost... His attention was caught by the voices below him. The man still reached for the landing. But at that moment, the protruding wall he'd been using as a foothold suddenly gave way. The time he came to his senses, his body was dancing in midair. The landing that was almost in his grasp was suddenly much farther away. Falling. A second later, his back crashed into the debris below him. Spit out all the air in his lungs. There was an unnatural pain in his chest. Oh, what the hell is this? When he looked down, he saw a reinforcing bar smeared with dark red blood sticking out at the center of his chest.
隊長！嘘でしょ！そんな！
Their screams filled his ears. Screams? Into the agony he was feeling, a thought still managed to pop into the man's head. Thought they were trying to hurt me. Why are they screaming like that? And does that mean those two were actually worried about me? He no longer had any time to find out if that was true or not. For before long, he passed away as blood foamed from his mouth. Game number 12, Doubter. Result of not believing the explanation about AD. Set Lieutenant senses very high. Simple enough. Oh, let's just check. Yeah, 1 to go. It's 14. Figure out where that is. Oh hey, this is the path where we warn them about the rollover. If we don't keep anyone very high... Oh, firefighting is all about teamwork. Can't disobey your superior's orders. Wisely quickly retreated with that thought. As he ran up the emergency staircase, regret quickly welled up in his heart. Is this really okay? He'd made it up to B1 and was out to shut the fireproof door behind him, but then... he heard a roar coming from downstairs. All of a sudden, something blew through the wide-open door and knocked Watase off his feet. He slammed into the hallway floor, and he turned around. His agony warped his face. The air caressing his face was hot. Black smoke spewed out of the stairwell. It appeared that an earth-shattering explosion had occurred back down on B2. All the color drained from Watase's face. Before he knew it, he was running back into the stairwell, shouting the whole way. Black smoke obstructed his path, intense heat burning his skin. Watase paid none of that any heat and ran down the stairs. The regret of being the only one to retreat pierced him right through the heart. The further down he got, the worse the heat became. Tachibana Moribe, please, I'm begging you, be alive! Watase ran down to B2 as he prayed for that from the bottom of his heart. Before long he found the two of them, lying in a world of black smoke, fire, and scorching heat. Their heads and faces had been completely charred black, leaving no way to distinguish them from one another apart from their height and weight differences. There was little to no chance that they were still alive. That reasonable assessment was completely cast aside in favor of Watase's emotions. Watase screamed that and leapt into the flames. His line of sight was dyed orange. All the fluid in Watase's eyes instantly evaporated, leaving him stranded in a black world. Where are they? His hair was reduced to ash, and a foul stench filled his nose. Next he smelled meat cooking. He soon lost the ability to tell what it was. His nose's mucous membrane had burnt up. It was hot. For some reason his whole body was hot. Even though he'd lost his sense of sight and smell, that agony still remained. Before he knew it, Watase was lying on the ground. His cheek pressed against the white-hot floor, making a sizzling sound as it did. He no longer knew anything. Nothing except the fact that he was burning. Ichibana, Moribe. With his sight still robbed from him, Watase turned toward them and reached out. His fingers never touched anything. Thus Watase breathed his last breath as he apologized to Kasumi and Jun. Maybe after the... You know what? The first few are chronological, the rest are just kind of short-form bad endings. Number 14. Result of Watase forgetting the importance of teamwork and leaving Kasumi and Jun to die. Simple enough. And now, yep, that's all but one. So, yeah. This recording got up to 2 hours total. Some of this is going to be spliced out to go into the next video, but definitely next video in this series is going to be the good ending for the aftermath. Last ending we have to get. Before we move over to before, see what's going on there. The story of Natsuhiko and friends. Okay. Let's just confirm. One last check of the ending log. Yep. It was all in. Yeah, I feel like these are just okay, it feels like these are chronological. Natural plot-related endings. And these are the stupid decision endings. These are also pretty sure these are all chronological. Although... Yeah, I don't remember where that was, but we did get it. We did get it. But yeah, that's enough of that, I should say. When we return, a good ending. The aftermath. Till then, until then.